Not good times for Lonmin and other platinum producers because of the strike. We see their latest results showing a fall in production.
Yes, but what did we expect? If the mine's on strike for 2.5 months out of 6, then there's no way you're going to show anywhere close to what your normal production, your normal earnings on. I was actually surprised earnings were only down 43%. They should have been down a lot more, I thought.
Yeah. Now, the area there around Rustenburg at the moment is tense. We're hearing reports, as we've been putting them out here on eNCA this morning, of mine workers being killed because Lonmin has been talking directly to the striking employees to go back to work. That doesn't seem to be helping the situation.
Look, this is the cost of living in a democracy. We believe we have a constitution that guarantees our safety, guarantees our freedom of choice to come and go as we please, to work where we want to, when we want to. Now, that democracy was put on hold for the poor mine workers so that we could have an election. So the last few months, they weren't able to exercise their rights. And now we see there's still people trying to prevent them exercising their free rights. But I think with the elections over, government will stand up to make an effort to protect its citizens. I'm hoping government will do its job to ensure stability and safety for all citizens, regardless of what union they belong to, what religious denomination, what color. But as we see, democracy comes with a high price. Look at the price the people in Ukraine are paying for it, people in Afghanistan. And we've paid big prices for democracy, and we still are. We're going to have more martyrs standing up for their rights, and hopefully that's a beacon for the rest of us to get out of our sleep and to say, this is a democracy for all people. Let's let people do what they want as long as it doesn't impinge on others. And this strike's gone on way too long, and it looks like it's going against the workers' will.
Well, some of the workers who've spoken to eNCA, for instance, our colleague Malungelo Boy was in the area the other day. They've been saying they're not going to go back until AMCU, their union, tells them to go back.
Look, it's about freedom of choice. You can join any union you want. And where I came from, in North America, you could join a mine that didn't have a union. And maybe we need some mines here that don't have unions to give a wider range of choice. Now, if someone wants to stay with the union, if someone is happy with their leader and wants to keep electing him and take orders from the leader, that's their constitutional right. But if they later find out that leader wasn't up to the task, that he didn't really have that individual's well-being as his priority, and they want to change their mind, they should be allowed to leave the union. They should be allowed to go to work or change jobs. So everybody should be allowed to follow whatever leader he wants.
Now, Peter, finally, I just want to ask you this question. I saw a comment by the International Labour Organization the other day, that's the ILO, regarding the huge gap between the salaries or remuneration of executives in South Africa and workers. And they were saying that it looks like executives are not in touch with reality. I mean, for instance, we saw last Monday Amplats announcing huge incentive programs in terms of shares to their leaders, to their CEO, into several, millions of rands. I mean, are they losing reality with what's happening on the ground? They continue to give themselves these huge cash bonuses and incentives when the workers are only asking for 12,500 in a month.
Look, I agree with this. I agree with people being angry at the huge disparity in salaries. And it's not the norm, but there are executives making what appear to be outlandish salaries. Companies pretty much mimic governments. And we have governments where people are making outlandish salaries. And even though we may have voted for those leaders, they may have organized themselves much higher salaries than we voted for them to get. And a lot of the companies we've seen, there are certain executives getting salaries and packages that we think are way higher than what they deserve. And we as shareholders need to take a stronger stance. We get to vote once a year for salary increases and for compensation packages. And most shareholders, unfortunately, are like a lot of citizens, they don't exercise that right to vote. They don't take a good look at what the leaders of those companies, just like sometimes we don't see what the leaders of our countries are doing. But that's got to be, that's part of a democracy, that's part of a capitalist system. And to go on strike, threaten other people, maim and wound other people, that's not the way you address those issues. But I agree, leaders must lead by example. And if you have certain leaders of companies or countries making extraordinary amounts of money that don't look warranted by any measure, that makes negotiating with the masses much more difficult. And as a shareholder, I'm with the workers on that. I don't like it, but I've got to work within the system to alleviate it.
Know more. eNCA.com